Okay, fine. I'll admit it. I don't know how to talk about this. I have spent so much time deleting my dumb little brain about how I'm going to be able to talk about this. The Owl House did something gay, and I don't know how to talk about it. I don't know how to use my brain to talk about it. I feel like I have conspired and conspired and conspired over and over again in the same continuous loop, trying to figure out how I can pin this down. Because why does this fucking matter to me so much? Jesus Christ. Well, I'm gay. Okay, there. Have your little intro? Here's the body. The Owl House is a show about a young girl named Luz who transports to a magical world named the Boiling Isles. The Boiling Isles contains tons of little things, little trinkets, baubles, all these little things, and they say that all myths that originate in the human world come from the Boiling Isles, a little bit of their world leaking into ours, okay? Upon going to the school, they meet a character named Amity Blight, and they also meet somebody named Willow, and they... Okay, so... They go through school life for a while. Amity is kind of an enemy, and then Amity stops being an enemy, and then we move forward until eventually, once again, they become friends. And we reach episode 16, Enchanting Grom Night, and Amity is constantly trying to hide this note and seems to be really afraid of what that note might contain. And then they have to fight this abominable horror that lies under the school, because that's what the Grom Queen has to do. And then Luz takes over that responsibility, and then that leads to them trailing off into eventually getting into a fight, and then the thing turns into Amity's worst fear, which is the note being ripped up, and then... Well, then this happens.
So, who did you want to ask out? Oh, it's not important.
And it felt good. Okay? There. I said it. I said it with my whole chest. It felt good. It felt good to be represented. It felt good. And I don't know how to talk about this without making it depressing. And I'm trying so hard to think of how I can do that. LGBT representation in media has never been great. It has been a thing that has been vexated time and time again with problems litigating every little moment that exists in between them. And anytime that there is a victory, there's always something else detracting. And it sucks, but just this once, it's fine. In a show I love by itself and I care about, they have the representation. It was hinted at and then just shown fully, exposed fully, and there have been plenty of moments driving the point home further. And I think this mattered to a lot of people too. And I want to know who else it mattered to, because I don't have any friends who have watched this stupid fucking show. And I want to talk about it. I want to rant a million years over about how much this mattered to me, because I want people to get it. A lot of us grow up in homophobia. We grow up in a lot of really just yuck circumstances. I grew up in Florida, a place known for not being the most LGBT friendly. And so seeing representation on Disney, of all places, Disney, one of the biggest companies in the world, seeing representation in a show made by somebody who makes good shit and has just produced this quality ass show, and now it's great and it just exists and it's normal. And I think the thing about the Owl House that drives me insane is the entire show focuses and centers around this idea of weirdness, right? The first episode, they break characters out of the conformatorium in order to allow them to be the weird selves that they want to be. Luz is shown to be notorious in school for being weird, bringing snakes in, writing fan fiction about the things she cares about. A character that a lot of people could probably relate to in a sense, because we all can feel weird in some semblance. But I think it's because the show has this driving point of what it feels like to feel weird when you aren't. This moment hit harder because of that. This moment hit so fucking hard because of that. Because it showed the normalcy of that often perceived weird thing. Because it is normal. Listen, being weird is fine. Everybody's weird in some sense. But being gay doesn't make you weird. And seeing that represented in one of the most cookie cutter brands to exist ever, like family friendly, like, well, we won't touch anything dangerous in that sense, right? Seeing that there and seeing it be appreciated and loved by so many people like me, it made me feel fucking ecstatic. I went on Twitter and saw so many accounts just in love with the fact that this has happened, and I felt good. And it's the first time in my entire life I've ever even remotely involved myself with an idea of fandom, all because this moment, tied with this fantastic show, made me feel less weird. It made me feel less strange for a moment. Maybe that's why I care, because I feel a little less weird for just a tiny moment, for a microcosm. I've been dissidence from the space, an escapism. The show beautifully captures the concept of escapism. I've spent so much time thinking about this, but escapism is the whole point, in a sense. From fan fiction to stories the characters get involved into, to literally transporting to a magical dimension called the Boiling Isles, all of this goes into a form of escapism. One that we get to be a part of. One that we get to escape into. And seeing so many people get to have that, like a little stronghold of fiction to latch onto, the same way Luz does in the show with her witch book, is phenomenal. God, the Owl House is so fucking good. I'll make a video on the Owl House as a whole, in totality. In this video, this has nothing to do with the totality of the Owl House. It has to do with this one little moment. God, I may even explain the moment. Well, I may have cut to it, but just to explain it further, Amity does ask Luz to prom, and that is big. And then Amity crushes over Luz for every episode after that, which is massive. And it's just sweet, and it's cute, and it's just lovely. They're just in love. That childish love. That note shove in locker kind of love. That love that many of you, including myself, may have experienced at one point. Something I still experience now, knowing my boyfriend. That love is beautiful. And it's something to treasure. In the way that it represented a kind of love that I am more naturally inclined to experience. That was beautiful to me. And it made me feel more welcome in the world. And I hope it did for a lot of people. I won't get sappy with it. But yeah. Maybe I'll cut out the part where I'm talking about how you can expect an Owl House video, but I will make something more in depth about it. I love the Owl House, and I want to dissect it for all the good that it is, not just this one moment. And I'll get to Ida, and I'll get to King, and I'll get to every one of those motherfuckers, because this show deserves it. And it deserves much more than whatever I could do. So thank you for listening to my rant. And, yeah. Sorry, L. Have a nice day.